evening, good afternoon, good morning, my friends. Thank you so much for coming to Lima this afternoon for me. Thanks a lot for visiting this channel that focuses in Lima and also the history of Peru. My name is Vanessa Vasquez. I am your Lima City tour guide. And today we're going to experience together part of the tour inside one of the most famous, most important museums we have in Peru. The name of this museum is LARCO. And LARCO Museum is, of course, one of the most visited in Peru because of the amazing collection it has. Over 45,000 pieces of potteries. We have also gold there. We have textiles. We have bundles, like real pre-Hispanic bundles that still contain mummies. We have skulls. It's an amazing collection. I've been given to you all the chance of seeing different parts of the Museum LARCO through an official recording made by the director of the museum, Mrs. Ulla Holmqvist. She guided in a couple of videos visitors, virtual visitors into the museum in Spanish. So I will be using a video, an official video posted in the Facebook of LARCO Museum that you can also access, my friends, if you want to practice your Spanish, if you want to, or you already know a little bit of Spanish, it would be even better, of course, because the whole video is in that language. But for translation purposes, I decided to share this with you. So translating also in today's occasion another section of the museum, which is the Erotic Gallery. So that's why you possibly have noticed there's a little disclaimer in the picture of this event that says that, well, this is for adults. It's an event for adults. If you have children, in other tours, of course, you can bring them to see the beautiful potteries that I will be sharing also of other parts of Lima or all the content I have in Lima, but not in this occasion because we're going to be sharing adult content. So this is just a little warning. If you have children next to you or underage, so basically it's at your own discretion. Hello amigos, thanks a lot for coming. I think we have the group already here ready. And by the way, today I will be translating, well, basically the idea is to the translation of the video. So I will first of all tell you how you can find this video, okay? So now we're going to turn the camera and you're going to see my computer, right? So first of all, let me also show you where you can access to this video. So here you can see the Facebook, official Facebook of LARCO Museum, which to find it is very easy. Here you can see is facebook.com/Museo LARCO, right? So just to show you a little bit of how you can access to this video for later, you can see in this section more videos, right? And you're going to get to see different videos of the museum, the inside of the museum. You can have the chance of learning through these different documentaries that the museum is sharing. How is the experience inside? Of course, by no means this will replace the visit in person. It's just a way to share with you a little bit of what they have, okay? So today we are using one of those videos, which is in Spanish, and is about the section of the museum, this is a beautiful museum, that is dedicated to the erotic gallery, right? Also, if you want to learn more about the history of the museum, LARCO, if you're coming to Peru, if you're coming to Lima, you have to come to this museum. You have to visit museolarco.org, and there you can choose also for English content, right? So we're going now to start with this, with this video, playing this video, and let me also make this bigger. Over here. Okay, and we're going also to show complete page. Okay, amigos, by the way, if you have a question, please share it with me here in the comment section. Don't be shy. We're going to have the chance of stopping the recording for answering some questions every once in a while. The section we're going to visit of the Museum LARCO is the Erotic Gallery, as you can clearly see in this at the entrance, right? And here you can see the name of the gallery is Checan. I will explain in a moment what it means, also this name. My dear Bernard, she is daughter of Danish and Peruvian. She is Ulla Holmqvist Pachas. The erotic gallery, by the way, is separated from the main exhibit for obvious reasons. Now, the idea is that the main exhibit will be, let's say, for everyone, for all ages, right? The erotic section is separated and is at the discretion of, for example, parents if they are bringing children with them. In the erotic gallery, we're going to see potteries that have, let's say, erotic content or a sexual content, of course, and there are representations of genitals, right? Also intercourse, sexual intercourse, but in all of the cases, the vessels that you will see here today in this projection are connected with the fertility, the intention of fertility. Remember that the context in which these vessels were discovered were burials, right? So it's not that they were like separated from other type of vessels, and they were in exclusive zones where only sexual, let's say, content vessels were stored or put in tombs. No, of course, they were all part of what we will say an ajuar, which is they say a series of elements that will go to the tomb with the dead, right? But the reason why this erotic section is separated from the let's say from the main exhibit is not just the fact that well, let's say the erotic content of this section is not completely permitted, let's say, for children. The reason is because the creator of LARCO Museum, Mr. Rafael LARCO Hoyle, in the 1920s, when he started to create this museum, he was very surprised to see these particular pieces with erotism. Remember, he was a man of the 1920s, no? So maybe we are more open-minded about talking about sexuality in this time, but not in the 1920s, no? So he was very enthusiastic about the reason, the purpose of these vessels, of these potteries. And that's why he separated those potteries in a special section, and he decided to study them. So he's one of the pioneers of the investigation of the erotic potteries. Mr. Rafael LARCO Hoyle, creator of the LARCO Museum in the year 1926, he created a museum in the north of Peru, in the north coast of Peru, Trujillo, and in the 1950s he moved the collection to Lima, to my city, in an old colonial house that has been adapted to now this purpose of being home of a museum. The lady you are seeing in this moment, she is, by the way, explaining the whole video in Spanish. That's why I'm translating into English. Is the director of the museum, Mrs. Ulla Holmkins Pachas. No? She's Danish Peruvian. She was also a former Minister of Culture at a point in our history in 2019. So she is a very, very renowned personality, and she is the person who had also reorganized the Erotic Gallery. The Erotic Gallery, if you have been in Peru and you've been in LARCO Museum some years ago, before the pandemic, the Erotic Gallery was completely different, my friends, because this video was made in June, the 22nd of June of 2021, as a sort of like inauguration or re-inauguration of the Erotic Gallery, as a way also to invite people to see this museum and to visit the Erotic Gallery completely renovated. So we have here, by the way, triple the size of the original gallery. Erotic Gallery is 3 times bigger, right? So we have in this first section, in first part, the oldest erotic potteries in the exhibit. They are from the Salinar culture. Salinar culture is one of the oldest of the country, and it is a transition between the Chavin culture, used to be known as the mother culture of Peru, and the Mochica, which is another very important society. Let me tell you the time when the Salinar culture existed. It's been dated between the periods of 500 years before Christ to 200 years before Christ. Also, for about 300 years, this ancient society created potteries of all kinds, but also erotic potteries. So you can see, for example, the idea of, let's say, couple, or the union of men and women, the reproduction of caused by the union, this ancestral union of men and women. So most of these vessels, keep in mind that they were discovered in tombs. So therefore, they were part of other different, let's say, vessels, no, that were not all of them of erotic content. They were with Whistler vessels, they were with pitchers, they were with fabrics, they were with all different kinds of vessels. And here, Mrs. Ulla Holmkins is showing us a little recreation of how most of these potteries were discovered in the site, right, in the tombs. So we can see a representation of a mummy or a skeleton, in this case, in extended position. That was the typical style of the northern cultures of Peru. The moches or mochicas used to bury their people in that way, the Salinar people as well. And around that mummy, lots of different vessels, and some of them of the erotic, let's say, theme. The name of the gallery, also known as Erotica, is also Checan. Checan comes from an ancient language that is not anymore spoken, my friends. When you come to Peru, you will be able to hear people speaking Quechua, Aymara, but not Muchic. Muchic was the language, presumably, the Mochica people used to use about 2,000 years ago, and it's a language that started to disappear after the coming of the conquistadors. In the 19th century, the 1800s, pretty much vanished. Nowadays, it's considered a dead, let's say, a language, right? This section you see over here, no, this room, which is getting darker, that's why you're seeing my reflection, is a next section where there is a video, an introductory video for those that are going to visit this museum. I'm going to turn the light off. Oh, I think it's much better. So when you get to visit this room, which is part of the main circuit, you're going to get an introductory video about, well, let's say, the position of the museum related with the erotic potteries. In this part, we are now in another room. You can see clearly the representation of a vessel that shows a masculine genitalia, a penis, and the other one on the other extreme, a vulva, vagina. Notice, for example, in the case of the vagina, which is clearly represented, beautifully represented, the color chosen is black. Black related with the night, and women are connected with the night, connected with the moon, also the world of the darkness. The opposite is the men. I think, I'm going to make a little stop before, because I'm seeing Cindy's comment. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. I just realized that I didn't tell what Checan means. So first of all, Checan comes from the language Muchik, right? So Muchik language, as I said before, sorry, I have to turn on the light. Muchik language is an extinct language, which we have now enough documentation thanks to, for example, some forms of recording voices in the beginnings of the 20th century, when we were able to record like words or phrases in that language. So Checan means love, amor, love, right? And Mr. Rafael Laico Hoyle decided to name this part of the collection love, amor, right? Although not necessarily these, let's say, vessels are connected with like passion or love, let's say a marital love or husband-wife love, they could be more connected with propitiation of fertility, right? But of course, it's understandable, but we can do the connection, of course, because we can see couples in intercourse, in private moments, okay? So now I'm going to return to the video. Please don't be shy with your questions, my friends. Don't be shy. I'm going to, I think, go 10 seconds before, so in that way we can see again the vessels. And also, I can show you another interesting detail as we keep going. We have here the male genitalia. I will turn off the light here. In a sort of resting position. No, we were going to see other vessels with the phallic shapes erected. This is a more resting position, ready to receive seeds. No, it's a seed keeper, right? And in the other one, we have, well, the representation of the female. And this one is divided into sections. It's sort of like the union between the male and female. Not necessarily division of the pre-Hispanic men. I will make a little bit open this, let's say, video. I don't know, but I cannot make it like open. Let me just, sorry, sometimes I get to, better, okay. So we're going again, couple of seconds, okay? I hope it is all right. I hope we are not being too distracted. Okay, so I was saying that we have this union. Not necessarily we are seeing like something binarial, like male or female, because even in the vessel that we see here, the female side, for example, could be connected with a male side, the opposite color, and the same in the other case, right? So the ideas possibly they had about, like these two elements that complement each other, male and female, also at some way could be even more complicated to understand, even for us nowadays, right? In this next section, we're going to see the representation of the female body and the male body, okay? And this is also peculiar because you can see that some of these vessels are recipients that receive liquids. They receive liquids inside. And we have vessels that are sort of like emissors, or they let's say share the liquid. They serve the liquid, pretty much like a male and female idea of the vessel. So here we can clearly see female bodies, of course, the vulva, even extended, stretching. Even seems that they have been able to give birth. They have given birth recently. Also, this representation probably of a type of Pachamama, Mother Earth, right? And the idea that these images that are sort of like hollow sculptures. They are sculptures that are animated with the fluid that comes inside them. We can even imagine us or the person that tries to take the liquid from within, trying to drink from this vessel, and at some point the liquid will come from the sexual organ, right? So in this other section, we're going to see the male vessels, the ones that is sort of like the emission ones, the one that serve, right? And all with phallic shapes, no? So we can see here these erected phalluses, showing also the potency, no, of this virile, let's say, gender, right, or genital, sorry. And we have, remember, this is a selection, of course, of the vessels. This tour shows you some of them. We have a pair of tamborileras. So what are the tamborileras? The tamborileras are these female representation. We can see even they have dresses. They are females, right? They have drums. That tambor is drum, right? You can see also that they have this element in the, let me make a stop here, right? I want to show you this. Can you see, my friends, this element here below the lip, right? So what is this element? Let me show you this. I think we can see it here. Let me show you. This is a labrette. This is a labrette, is the name how it's called. So this is like a lip piercing, right? In the pre-Hispanic times, these labrettes were used more often by women, right? So that's how we know that these two are representations of females. Also the dresses, right? And also, well, the drum. Also, the drum is usually associated with the women. And you can see also in the upper part the representation of vulvas, right? So here we have 1 and 2. So sort of like these vulvas, the genitalia of the women are animated. They are a person. Well, not necessarily like completely independent to the human body, right? But there is an idea of these genitals being animated at some point, and also being very important for this idea of fertility and reproduction, right? But on the other side, we have, sort of like a complementary to the other ones, we have the male representations, which are also, like phallus, that have arms and legs, right? So they are animated too, right? And they are still containers. But in most of them, we can see them sort of like in a resting position. They are like elderly vessels. Why we can see this? Because they have wrinkles. They have wrinkles in all of the cases. So we have, let's say, a genitalia in another stage of the life of the human, right? So let me also check. There is a question here. I want to have the chance of answering. Jane, what is inside most of the containers? Jane, thanks for your question. It is really hard to know exactly what used to be inside. Let me turn on the light. Inside these containers. The idea archaeologists have nowadays is that indeed these vessels were used maybe to carry liquids such as chicha, for example, the fermented beer of corn beer, for ceremonies, for special ceremonies. Remember that some of them were supposed to receive liquids some type of element, or emit, throw these liquids in some other cases. But we don't know exactly how they were used, because most of these vessels were used and were made also in the period of the Mochica culture, or also known as Moche culture. The Mochica culture existed from the beginnings of Christian era until more or less the year 700 down to the 800 of our era. So we had no contact, like the Spanish had no contact with them, so we don't know exactly how they were used. We just have theories about how they could have been used also. So this is just to try to answer this wonderful question of Jane that, it still can be completely answered. Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for your tip support, my friend. So in the next room, in the next section, you can see the museum, the erotica is quite big, right? Remember, this is not a Kama Sutra, not at all. We are not here showing, like erotic pieces that were sort of like propitiatory for an intimate intercourse between men and women. No, they were of other characteristics. They were of sacred characteristics, sacred value. They were propitiatory of fertility, of irrigation in most of the cases. And they went to the afterlife with important people, because these important people, now that was turning into an ancestor, when you die, you turn into an ancestor, you have to take this message to the underworld, to that other world. So in this part over here, we can see also some other vessels which are more of the, let's say the simple representation of intercourse for multiplication, or for fertility, for getting pregnant, right? And here we have also other group in which, curiously, the females look bigger than the male. Here, just to make a little stop, because I usually get this question when I am in this museum with my groups, with my tour groups. They ask me, I don't see really much difference between male and females in these vessels. They look very, very alike. And maybe if we were not able to see maybe bosoms in some cases, or vulvas and phallic shapes, we would not even discover which one was male and female. And the reason is that in the Andes of Peru, we don't have big dysmorphism between male and women. For example, in Nordic countries, or in Europe, or in North America, because of the European influence, you can see like bigger differences between females and males, right? The size, the height, for example, the shape, more maybe rounded or more like smooth, let's say, complexions in females, in male more angular. But in the Andes, here in this part of the world, men and women, people that are more like, let's say, bigger, let's say, blood, have bigger blood, let's say, DNA code of the Andes or ancestral people, they don't have this big dysmorphism. Men and women look not so different, even in their height, right? So that's probably why many people don't see big differences between both genders in these particular vessels. But here we can see something curious, that women are represented bigger than the men. So as the most important character is in some of these vessels, the female character. And notice also that there is a handle that is connecting the scene with the lower part. The scene, the amatory, the loving scene, the sexual scene with the vessel, which is the final container of this liquid that, as I said before, could be water for the ceremonies, or could be chicha, or could be any other fluid that was important for them that unfortunately we don't know in this moment. But it was idea of connection, that vessel and that pot. And here we have a painting which is religious and is Catholic, by the way. If you didn't notice yet, this is the representation of Virgin Mary giving milk or breastfeeding Jesus. This is the Virgen de la Leche, or the Virgin of the Milk. And what is curious is that there are some universal themes. They are universal, like these motifs, stories, no? That doesn't matter where you are in the world, you'll find something similar everywhere. For example, the idea of the breastfeeding, this breastfeeding associated, no, with the contact of this the Virgin Mary and this image of baby Jesus, this supernatural, let's say, union or mother-son. Here, I want to show you something really curious, and we'll make a quick stop again to show you something. This, of course, is the representation of a female a character, right? It has bosoms here, right? She's carrying a baby, right? So up to here, we have something similar in between the painting of the Virgin of the Milk and this vessel, which is from the Mochica times. So what is this representation? What they were trying to represent here? Of course, it looks a little bit like human, but it's not completely human. So please take a moment to think about what representation is this one. It's a natural representation, by the way, and I will show you right now. So do you know the cacao, my friends? Have you ever heard about the cacao? Have you ever seen cacao before? So the cacao is this fruit from where you make chocolate, right? So in Peru, we have a tradition that if you want to give more milk to your baby, if you are breastfeeding, you have to drink a tea, an infusion of cacao, right? So of the husks that cover the beans, the cacao beans. So it is very curious because this is our tradition nowadays still. I've done it also when I had my babies. My mom also forced me to drink a lot of tea of cacao. So in that way, my babies will have the chance of having lots of milk. So it is a tradition here in Peru still nowadays. And you can see, and I'm going to give a play now to this video, also that this so-called the mother cacao, madre cacao, right, is breastfeeding a character that is a baby that has big earlobes. It has big earrings. For my friends that have been with me in my other two visits to LARCO Museum this week, virtual visits to LARCO Museum, you have possibly seen the big earrings in a section of the museum made of silver and gold. So the stretching earlobes and the stretch ears are related with a status. So probably what we are seeing is this mother cacao breastfeeding let's say a mythological god, right, that is receiving this milk and this protection from this mother, right? Pretty much the same idea of the image we have over here, which is, of course, Catholic, right? So we have these elements that were coexisting since the coming of the conquistadors, that were sort of like alien to us, this idea of the Virgin Mary, Jesus Christ, you know, and then later when we had our own mythologies, so we started just to make connections. We started to connect one with another, and the traditions eventually, you know, create something new, right? I'm so happy, Ronnie, you're liking this. So, and here we're going to see another vessel, which is related with masturbation. And there are some vessels also showing the masturbation as a propitiatory acts, right? And this vessel is quite unusual because, first of all, you can see that they are two persons. When we get closer to the vessel, in the case of the larger character, which is beheaded, we don't know in what moment it lost the head, we can see that it's a larger character, this one that has been beheaded by accident. Of course, it seems that it was the passing of the time. And also, the genitalia of that large entity is like female, it's not male, but it's sort of like strange. It's sort of like androgynous for a moment, right? But of course, we can see clearly there's a female next, smaller, right? And we can notice also here the act of propitiation, of erotism before the consummation of the sexual act. Adrian, the TV series Asian aliens will be in their element. Yes, exactly, Adrian. They have to come to this museum, or anyone that is interested in pre-Hispanic Peru, or any reporters, all have to come to LARCO Museum. As you can see, just the erotic gallery has a lot really to show. So different erotic positions that are repeated also constantly. We don't have really, once again, a Kama Sutra here. It has been identified about 11 erotic positions that are seen constantly in the vessels. There's no big variation in them. But what is curious is that in some of them, for example, the section we're about to see is about the ancestors. And how we can notice that, how we can deduce that. Because we're going to start seeing skeletons. We're going to see dead, right? So the dead represented in these vessels, they are deaths that are sort of like more alive than ever. Can you move slower? Oh, Jane, sorry, just to make a little stop here. My dear Jane and friends, for those that just joined, this is a video. I am in my house. This is a video that was not recorded by me. The LARCO Museum, by the way, no problem, Jane. The LARCO Museum don't permit people to video inside. So for long, I wanted to show you this museum. I've been a guide for Heygo since 2020, ending of 2020. And as the museums were opening, I knocked lots of doors to ask permission for live streaming in the museums. Unfortunately, most museums are not very into doing that. So few months ago, I discovered this video that kindly the museum show. So I had the idea to do this for you, like to show you from my home this video, sort of as if we were going inside, right? And I really hope you're enjoying, my dear Jane. No worries, Jane, no worries. I know. It's good. It means that you are really feeling the experience. If I was there, I'm sure I would be going slower. So the museum, sort of like hand-picked some vessels to show in this video. And at the end, no worries, you can also access directly to this museum, to this video of the museum, to see it all over and over and over again. I'm going to be sharing how you can access to this video. See? So I'm going again to the other side. Sorry, Jane, that I cannot do it a little bit slower, but we can also stop, which is good. We can stop. So I think we can go a little bit backwards, maybe, to try to show you again. Okay. So you can see, my friends, that in this section, we have, for example, a mummy. Can you see that? Right? We have also this one is a mummy. Well, it's a dead. You can see the skeleton, right? But these mummies are also with alive people. They are with people that are alive, no? They have flesh. They are being embraced. They are being loved. They are being masturbated in some cases. They are being kissed, right? So why all of this? Well, in the old days, let me make a little stop here. In the old days, when Mr. Rafael Larco Hoyle in the 1920s, 1930s, he started to investigate these vessels, he was not an archaeologist, first of all, but he was an enthusiast and a scholar. So for his ideas of the 1920s, he believed that all the vessels that show the dead being masturbated or masturbating alone, right? They were showing that sort of like the people that masturbated back then, he believed they were considered to be dead inside, that sort of like how most of modern people will think about masturbation, right? So not being something acceptable in that time. But it seems to be archaeologists don't believe so anymore. They believe that the masturbation, I'm going to put play now, the masturbation, the representation of the masturbation here was more like a propitiatory idea or propitiatory intention for the ancestors to give us fertility from underground and also irrigation. These vessels over here, they are called cancheros. Canchero. You know what is a canchero in Peru? Let me show you here. I have some images to share so you can have a better idea. So this is a canchero. A canchero is a container in which we put corn, and we toast the corn on the fire. This is fire, right? And we produce this, the toasted corn. So that's a canchero. So when archaeologists discover these other vessels I will show you over here again, for the shape they had, they believe they were cancheros, right? So they were used to toast corn. But now we know it is not like that. Yes, Adrian, that's right. So these cancheros, nowadays, they are believed, or there are some theories of archaeologists that believe that, and also you can see this better here. Notice that this is a female representation. We can see the vulva, we can see the clitoris, right? We can see open legs. There is a current of archaeologists that believe that these were recipients who received seminal liquid, seminal, let's say semen, right? For some type of ceremonies. Well, of course, this is not completely clear. This is a theory. Not everybody agrees with this, but the shape is completely inviting, let's say, to this theory, right? So the cancheros, they are still called cancheros, but we know they were not used for toasting corn, okay? So probably also many of these ceremonies, propitiatory ceremonies, include sexual acts, but it's hard to say again that. You can see also the dead with a young female alive woman, right? In this idea of embrace, of love, of care, we are embracing the ancestors, and the ancestors are more alive than ever. The ancestors are the ones that irrigate the soil. They live in the underworld, right? So it's necessary to keep them happy, to honor them with food, visiting them. And we are still doing nowadays that in Peru, because for the Day of the Dead, for example, we go to the cemeteries, we visit our dead, we bring music to the dead, right? So this is, once again, this idea of propitiation, masturbation, as you can see, like in some cases, the dead being also masturbating themselves, or an alive person doing that, asking the ancestors, the dead are the ancestors, to give us fertility, to give us water, and to have the chance of have crops for the next season. And this is one of the most famous vessels in the whole museum, in the whole Checan Gallery or Erotic Gallery. And here I will make a stop again, because I want you to evaluate this vessel with you, okay? So this vessel is a recipient that, for the shape it has, is hollow, as you can see. Now, these are hollow sculptures. It shows a dead, a male, very, very virile, very strong man representation, right? And also very potent. And you can see that there is an entrance hole in the upper part for the liquid that has to be put in. And we have a hole in this section. If you had to drink from that vessel, from where would you drink, my friends? Let me know. If you had to drink from that vessel, from where you would be drinking. Remember, the idea is not spreading the liquid. So I think you've done the little mental exam, right, of this situation. The shape of this vessel, Diana, the shape of this vessel, the form it has been designed, I would be drunk. It is designed not to be drunk from the top because it has holes. Have you noticed that? Yes, yes. There is no other way to drink the liquid from this vessel than from the genital, because it has been hollow in purpose on the top. So this also shows that there was one only way to use these vessels, and it was also related with the idea of propitiation to the ancestor, drinking from the ancestor and receiving the benefits that our ancestors in the underworld give us, right? So as we continue also moving in this museum and we have the chance of seeing in a different way the vessels, we are seeing this way. We are among adults, of course, tonight or this afternoon. We are among adults, and we all are interested in trying to see these vessels in the way how my ancestors, our indigenous ancestors, used to see them. And most likely they were not seeing them the same way we are seeing them. But why not to think that they also had humor? Well, they were not static, serious people, no? They were like you and I, no? They were also people with humor. And probably, we can imagine, that many of these vessels were also seen with the same humor we will be seeing them nowadays, right? So as I was saying, this museum is very large. If you've been able to have the chance of seeing this museum in person here in Peru, if you've been here, I hope some of you have been able to come to Peru already. Before 2021, this room of the Erotic Gallery has changed completely. It has been re-inaugurated. It's 3 times bigger, and more erotic vessels have been put out in this exhibit to improve the experience. So we have also, Van Hart, yes, that's right. In the next section also, which is the last one of the Erotic Gallery, we can see the room dedicated to the union, this mythological union between these two entities, two sort of like deities that were considered probably the most important of the Mochica people. We have Ayapaek. Ayapaek is a god that is considered to be the propitiator of life, right? And Pachamama, Mother Earth. So in this vessel you are seeing here, we have the mythological union between Ayapaek, the god over here, and this female representation that is usually considered as Pachamama, as Mother Earth. And we know from the elements in the vessel, which also are here in this bigger mural, of course, we can see this union, that from this union comes out a tree with monkeys. And we can see elements that associate this event with the underworld. Couple of things. You can see the waves of the ocean, so meaning that they are located underground, under the sea, under the world where we live, the world of the darkness. The world of the ancestors, this is a dead person, right, with no feet, actually, a dead. We have also the bicephalous snake that you saw at some point. The bicephalous snake is related with the Milky Way. And people that are bringing to this union presents, right? So these mythological elements united and these vessels that were replicated a lot. It's not that there was just one or just two of these vessels. These vessels they're sort of like representations of religious, let's say, mythologies that were very well spread over our territory. It's, for example, when we talk about nativity, right? So everybody knows, we see an image of the nativity, we see the few elements there, I would say, oh, it's the nativity. So for them was the same. No? They saw this, the union of Ayapae and Pachamama, and the tree said, oh, no, is this the beginning of life, the beginning of our existence. And that's why in this last section of the museum, there is sort of like a parallel created from the museography of the museum for the visitors from all over the world that try to understand what these symbols represent. And in the next section, you'll see briefly a representation of the nativity. And by the way, the nativity and most of what we take for granted is related with the nativity and the birth of Jesus Christ is also a union of a lot of pagan ceremonies and celebrations and festivities that eventually were united with the Catholic, let's say, or the religious, right, idea, no, that nowadays we take for as Catholic. Is that right, my friends? Yes, of course. For example, the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, because in Peru we are southern hemisphere, so will be the summer solstice. So for the northern solstice, the union of this festivity with the birth of baby Jesus, right? So it is the same idea, because here in Peru, most of these ceremonies or these traditions were connected with the solstice. With the winter solstice, the moment when the sun is the northernmost, and it's static there in the sky. And then little by little comes back to us, right? So this was the same idea. That's why we are having here sort of like a parallel, the idea of the nativity, these elements that we see, and at first we know, oh, it's the nativity. It is the same with these other vessels that we saw. And it was the same idea, of course, how they were interpreted by the ancient people of Peru. And here we can see a beautiful picture of the Andean sky. This is the Milky Way, in which, of course, there were black constellations. There were constellations in the black spots, the designs, the drawings that naturally are formed by these black spaces. The indigenous of Peru also associated them with, for example, the fox, with the llama. The Milky Way was the bicephalous snake. It was considered the bicephalous snake, and that's how it was represented. And all of these elements are also present in these vessels that you've seen in the erotic gallery. Right, so today's activity, which has expanded a little bit more than what I expected, was to show you the erotic gallery of LARCO Museum, and I want also to take you to the final part, because we are coming to the end of this visit. Here there are, by the way, some words of the director of the museum. Wants also to invite people to come. This museum is open every day from Monday to Sunday. It totally deserves more visitors completely. I'm sure that if you come to Lima and you come to this museum, you're going to have a way better understanding of the history of Peru. That could be very good before going to Cusco, before going to Machu Picchu, maybe coming to the LARCO Museum. The house is beautiful. It's a colonial house from the 18th century. That beautiful house you see up there was built on top of a pre-Hispanic temple. That's why it is elevated. But that's not the unique case in Peru. We had other houses built on top of pre-Hispanic temples, no? That used to be an hacienda house, a countryside house of a plantation field dedicated to cotton in the old days. Nowadays, it's in the middle of the city. It's a very nice neighborhood, the one around. They have a restaurant. They have the main exhibit actually is over here. I hope soon to repeat this series that I did about the LARCO Museum and the Erotic Gallery. If you can, please follow my channel. It would be lovely to have the chance of having you in my next events. I will be doing a series dedicated to museums in Peru. Also, let me also tell you again how you can access to the website of LARCO Museum. First of all, if you do Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Museo Larco. You can see in the upper part. And you can also see this video in the section videos over here. So it's here, and many other videos of the museum are there. You can also visit here the website in museolarco.org. So there you can have the chance of seeing the museum. And also, I want to share with you my information here. I am sharing an image with on my website, all my social medias, my channel on Heygo. If you want to learn more about Peru, if you want to learn more about Lima, please follow me. I also have wonderful colleagues in Heygo, Mike in Cusco, Elizabeth in Arequipa, also some new guys that are joining that I was not able to meet yet, but I know they're going to be doing a great job. So if you come to Lima, please let me know it. I organize in-person tours here in Lima. That's my job, actually. That's my main job. And also my interest with these virtual tours is showing you all the beautiful things you can do in my city, and also encourage you to come to Lima. If you have the chance of supporting this channel with a little donation, that would be super. As you know, these are free to join, pay as you wish tours. So let me also activate a button that will help you to do a little donation if you have the chance, if it's in your possibilities. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for the interaction. Thanks for the questions. It is always a pleasure to have you in Lima, and also to learn from you what you want to see. So comment, please, what are the next museums you would like me to share with you. I think I'm going to be sharing documentaries, Peruvian documentaries about museums that are posted on, let's say, YouTube, for example. So, but explaining them in English. So maybe in that way you will have an idea of what else you can see in Lima. Molly, thank you. Diana, muchas gracias. I really hope you enjoyed this event that was up to the level of a museum. I just want to I did a disclaimer about the adult content, because sometimes I know there are voyagers that travel with children virtually, and I didn't want children to be exposed to something like this. I have little ones also, so I am very cautious about that, and I hope it was up to the level of the museum. See? So, Bernhard, muchas gracias. Oh, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learned something new. And well, best to you all, amigos. Gracias, Diana. Gracias, Ronnie. Always a pleasure to have you. Please follow me if you can. You have up there the channel. And well, see you on the next time. See you next week. I will be doing something more, another museum next week, so please stay tuned. Best to you all. Gracias, Jane. Thank you. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye, amigos. Gracias. Thank you.